So to start off, I actually want to share two personal stories of mine. I'm going to tie back into everything I'm talking about. When I was about 9 years old, I went to a restaurant called Cousins. Who greeted us was this super happy, super bubbly, super wonderful girl who like put on an accent and made this hometown farm experience feel super real. And after that, I never forgot that restaurant. I was like, oh, that place is so cool. I can't wait to go back again. And I loved it. Well, about a couple of years later, I got to go back, and the person who greeted us this time was the complete opposite. She was super apathetic. Not like she had a bad day. She just legitimately didn't seem like she cared. And it was really a bummer experience compared to the first time I went. So two very high contrast experiences. So what do those two things have to do with the Haunted River? Well, customers who come to the Haunted River can have these awesome experiences or pretty lame experiences. It's all dependent on how the employees are performing in their roles. That's the issue that you, James and Teresa and Natalie, have asked me to address. It's how can you guys have rock solid employees that last throughout the entire season? Well, I'm going to address three different things that will cover that topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about pay. I'm going to talk a little bit about something I like to call the evaluation period. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we can do if a employee is doing really good, but then starts to kind of peter out later in the season. And then I'm going to wrap it all up and talk about how we're able to monitor this so you guys can see who needs help. So first off, a little bit about the pay. So right now, you guys are paying all of your employees a flat rate of $40 a night. What I suggest, and these numbers are hypothetical, obviously the actual numbers would be up to you. What I suggest is that new employees that have recently come in, you start out at a $20 a night rate, and they can then earn a $40 a night paid position. While veteran employees who you really trust currently start out at $40 a night. So this is a good thing because it gives employees an opportunity, especially new ones, an opportunity to be like, hey, like I got something to work for. I essentially earn a pay raise and really lock in a solid position at the attraction. Next is the evaluation period. So what I suggest for the first 2 weekends, you use that as a time to see what employees are good, where, and really are cut out for this kind of work. And by that I mean, you remember Jared. He spent the entire season as a pig, but behind him just snorting at people. And when you finally had him in a position where he was talking and interacting with customers, he exploded. Like he did so good, and that area became awesome. So we want to avoid situations, or you want to avoid situations where you're going to miss out on all that untapped potential. And that's what this evaluation period can be used for. So I suggest that employees come in and list 2 to 4 areas that they'd like to work in or roles they'd like to be in. So they can then be rotated through there during the first 2 weeks of the season, which we all know are the most intense weekends, because that's when the most people are coming through. So you can not only see where they're going to excel acting wise, but you also get to see how will they do under pressure. After that period, you can decide, okay, I want you here and I want you there. And you can also see who might need to be replaced. Lastly, employees who are doing pretty good, but then decide to kind of maybe let off the steam as the season rolls on. What I suggest with these people is, now, first off, we don't obviously attack them if they have a bad weekend, because everybody has like a bad weekend every now and again. But if it's someone who has reached a $40 paid position, and hopefully they have at this point in the season, and they seem to kind of have a consistent lacking of performance, and you've gone and you've talked to them and you've given them some pointers and you've tried to encourage them, it just doesn't seem to be coming together. I suggest that you bring them from that $40 paid position back down to the $20 position. And that being financially makes sense financially, because if you're paying them for this work that they were delivering and you know they can deliver, it's not fair to you or even the customers to be getting essentially a mediocre performance, but to still be paying top dollar for it. And obviously, if it still seems to continue to be a struggle, you can consider replacing them with someone new. Now, how are we going to monitor these things? Because it's a lot to keep track of. Well, this last season, you guys had a secret shopper who would go through and sort of evaluate the employees who did really well or the employees who didn't do so great. I suggest that you continue to do this, but in a more poignant way. So having a secret shopper go out more towards the middle of the night when workers have kind of gotten to the groove of their haunt And they look for certain expectations that you, James and Teresa, have set for the employees to be achieving. And they can mark down people who really aren't reaching that expectation, and they can bring that list back to you, which you can then see who needs to be talked to, who needs some help or might need a little extra encouragement. So I've talked about payment, I've talked a little bit about the evaluation period, and I've talked a little bit about what to do if someone's not really living up to the standard you know that they can live up to. Now I want to talk a little bit about numbers. So these are some stats that Teresa has actually given me from the last season. This last season, you had 27 new employees, 25 veterans, and everybody was being paid $40 a night for the first 6 nights. Then the last 8 nights, everybody was bumped to $50 a night. So you were spending about $17,000 paying all your new employees, about $16,000 on paying all your veterans, which makes sense, there's less of them. And that totaled to about $33,000 for the end of the season. And that's not including bonuses or your other manager positions, it's just the haunters each night. Now, if we look at this same season with the pay adjustments hypothetically that I have put into place, or I'm suggesting I should say, let's say the new haunters start out at a $20 paid position. And then when you did that pay bump after those first 6 nights, instead of going to $50, they go to $40. And then obviously the veterans stay the same. So the numbers for that look like $11,000, or I should say $12,000 for the new employees for the entire season, still $16,000 for the veterans. But in total, you spend about $27,000. That's $5,000 to $6,000 less than you spent originally. And I know money is not the main point, but you can see that you can use all this extra money for extra haunters or more buildings on the island, on the haunt, or whatever you need for it for the business. A little extra cash is a nice bonus. Like I said, I know that's not the emphasis. The emphasis and solution that you guys touched on is how to get these rock-solid employees. Well, I believe that if you implement these things, you will have rock-solid employees, because for one, these employees will have something that goals they want to work for, a higher wage or location or spot they really want to act in. You'll be able to monitor them and how they're doing a lot more efficiently, so you get to those people who may need some help. And everyone will understand your expectations. This is going to give you awesome haunters. And when you have awesome haunters, you're going to have an awesome attraction. When you have an awesome attraction, your customers are going to have a great experience. And when your customers have a great experience, reputation of the Haunted River being one of the greatest attractions in eastern Idaho goes up. And when that happens, people will come from all over the place to see the Haunted River again, again, and again. So what do you say? Let's do this.